If you recently Googled what an AI dispatcher is, AI dispatcher, AI dispatch, you might have come on page like this, which tells you 100 different things like trucking companies talking about logistics. Then there is a page about field service companies talking about skills, certifications, etc. And then there is a Motorola page about like 911 AI dispatch. But none of this actually helps you decide if you need an AI dispatcher and let alone what an AI dispatcher is. So in this video, I'm going to quickly narrow down what an AI dispatcher is and for your use case if you really need one. So in most simple terms, an AI dispatcher is a software that plugs into your existing dispatch process while using machine learning and AI to automate your dispatch process. So it tells you, first of all, who goes where, when, and in what order. Now, this is true for any operations, any type of business, etc. So there's three things, as I said, in this order. It plugs into your existing dispatch process. It uses AI and machine learning. And thirdly, it automates the assignment decision. Now, when I say the assignment decision, it is who goes where, when, and in what order. Now, because there are multiple industries that AI dispatcher targets, first of all, so I have made this diagram which explains the four main categories. So the first one is trucking and freight, where the decision that needs to be taken for a dispatch is, okay, load matching, how much load can this truck, for example, carry, and which truck can carry this much load. Then rate negotiation, which carrier is going to give me the cheapest rate, first of all. And then there is also like multi-word search and all those complex dispatch trucking decisions. So AI dispatcher in this case will plug into your operations and it's going to help you decide, first of all, that which truck is the right for this kind of a job, how much capacity it's going to help basically carry, and then how much is the rate for. And then if you give it a goal, it's going to help you optimize it. And then your planning time of deciding this is going to be reduced from like, let's say 30 minutes to like 15 or 10 minutes. Then the second one is the field service industry. This is what we are building at FieldCamp for. So the field service industries have people going out on the field and doing various kind of jobs like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, solar installations, wind turbines, etc. And they need, first of all, the right person needs to be sent to do the job, which is decided by the skills and certifications. Then because they are doing multiple jobs during a day, the route needs to be optimized. And then in case, because the job day is very highly dynamic, like a call comes in and the board needs to change, for example, then the emergency reshuffling is also the third case. So AI dispatcher might help with all of this decision, where, for example, FieldCamp plugs into your existing system and it's going to tell you that, first of all, for a given job, who is the tech that should go, when they should go, and then based on their existing schedule, what is the order where they would be able to fulfill the job order ultimately. The third case, which is emergency 911, for this specialized softwares come, not FieldCamp, not Salesforce, none of these like the famous terms qualify for it, because first of all, this is emergency triaging. Of a 911 call comes in, it needs to be figured out who is the closest cop, for example, or a fire station that can be sent to the location. And the AI dispatcher in this case will help figure out these kind of things ultimately, of who is the closest and how fast they can reach. And the last one is the last mile delivery. Now softwares like, for example, Upper Route Planner, what they do is they can help with like real-time routing and then time window management. So deliveries need to be made in specific time and then route needs to be optimized. And the driver communication is also important, like proof of delivery and stuff. So what an AI dispatcher in this case does is it helps plan that what the route looks like that satisfies all the delivery constraints. Now, another important thing is, regardless of what industry we are talking about, if you notice this, then the only three things that matter. The speed, that first of all, when you are planning, how fast can you complete that work? And that's the number one thing, which is like minutes of planning instead of hours. So regardless of if you are doing in a trucking industry or a logistic industry or field service industry, one thing that you need to use an AI dispatcher for is to reduce your planning time. If your goal is not to reduce your planning time, then AI dispatcher is not for you. The second one is accuracy. Because currently what happens is, if your best dispatcher calls in sick or they leave or a new dispatcher comes in, all the institutional knowledge which is present needs to be passed over to the new worker. And basically, when you need to send a right tech to a right job, ultimately, then you need a process. And this process can be established by implementing something like an AI dispatcher, and the accuracy can be improved so the right person, right tech, right truck goes to the right route, right job, etc. And the third thing is adaptability. So, we live in a world which is very dynamic. Changes come. How fast can you react to those changes? And to react to those changes, you need to be well equipped, for example. And this well equipped software can be AI dispatcher in many of the cases. Now, the difference between manual, traditional dispatch and AI dispatch is the traditional dispatch, if a human is doing it, for example, it's going to rely on manual judgment and fixed rules. So, for example, if I'm in a field service business and I get a call that, hey, my heater is broken, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Mike or Carlos in XYZ area, they specialize in fixing the heaters and that day looks like this. They can go between 2 and 3 p.m. Okay, for this, let's send Carlos because he has availability at 2:30 and I'm just going to confirm then with the customer. And that's how the manual dispatch works. How the AI dispatch works is going to take 50 plus variables, one of them being skills. So who is the right person? Does Carlos have the certification to repair the heater, first of all? And then if Carlos goes or Mike goes, who is better able to do upsells and convert more revenue? So more constraints like this, there are 30 plus constraints which are satisfied in FieldCamp alone. It depends on what your organization goals are, to do more jobs, to do more revenue, etc. And based on that, AI dispatcher can be configured, because remember what I say, AI dispatcher doesn't replace your dispatching process, it works with your dispatching process. So it needs to be configured to match your dispatching process. Now, in traditional dispatch, if something comes up like Mike called in sick, then you have to manually figure out, what's going to happen to 10 of the Mike's jobs? Can 7 take it or can Carlos take it, etc. But AI dispatcher can just with one click, you can say that, hey, for example, in FieldCamp, we have something called as an AI chat. You can just type that, hey, Mike has called in sick, redistribute his jobs. And it will auto-calculate all the calculations which are not priority jobs, the non-priority jobs can be shuffled back tomorrow, etc. And then the traditional dispatch doesn't get better over time. It's a human which gets better over time, is the human's understanding. But then if that human calls in sick, that understanding is sick with it as well. So AI dispatcher operates only on data. And because the better the AI gets, for example, in FieldCamp, we have something called as skills. So the skills is how a human would take a decision. And you can teach these skills to an AI dispatch, which are just verbal instructions, for example, apart from the constraints and the data. And lastly, cognitive load skills. So if you have 10 technicians, if you go to 20 technicians, you have to hire one more dispatcher because your dispatcher is going to be bottlenecked. In AI dispatch, that is not the case. The performance skills, the more data, the more tech, etc. comes into the picture. So in this video, I quickly explained you what an AI dispatcher is, what are the various industries it is for, and then if you need it, yes or no. If you need it, then first of all, these are the 3 criteria, which is you want your org to be very fast speed, you want them to be adaptable, and you want it to be accurate. If these are the only 3 boxes that checks your criteria, then only look for an AI dispatch. And now if you go on Google and search for AI dispatcher, it's gonna make sense that this is for logistics, this is for 911, this is for trucking, this is for field service, etc. And you can just choose the one that works for you. Thank you.